All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So yesterday in Aaron Rodgers' press conference after the second day of OTAs, he said that Robert Saleh is more involved with the offense this go around in 2024. And, with that came, a lot of thoughts for me personally, some positive, some negative, a question as well. And we take a look back at last season's offense and just how it fell apart. I mean, it was almost unbelievable how many things went wrong for this Jets team, how many things I personally had a question with or I had concerns with. Just inexcusable stuff. Absolutely inexcusable stuff. The amount of positional struggles, again, from an individual standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, it just was a complete and utter mess. Run blocking, pass protection, lack of quarterback play, wide receivers just not really impacting the game all that much outside of Garrett Wilson and Xavier Gibson late into the year. We had Allen Lazard as a healthy scratch. We didn't stretch the ball down the field. Injuries all around, constantly switching guys' positions on the offensive line. Not really having a plan at backup quarterback, not really tailoring the offense to the backup quarterback once Aaron Rodgers went down with injury. It felt like really the only spark, the only idea that this offense had with trying to create positive plays was just hand it to Brees. Hand it to Brees or throw him a screen. And that's it. And it was super. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was so frustrated, and I don't really want to dive too much back into 2023. Of course, I'm focused on 2024, but let's take this Saleh update, I guess, and run with it. He's going to be more involved with the offense in 2024. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Let's talk about the positives first. So first things first, he's the head coach of the football team. And, yes, he's a genius when it comes to his style of defense on that side of the football. Yes, when it comes to controlling opposing quarterbacks, Mahomes, Hurts, Allen, Herbert, whoever. Saleh really knows how to get into those guys' heads. As far as game planning, I feel like Saleh does a great job on the defensive side of the football. And at the end of the day, he is the head coach. And Jeff Ulbrich calls plays on the defensive side of the football. So you would think, okay, well, Saleh is more of this CEO, managerial overseer on game day. He doesn't have his head in the play sheet like Todd Bowles or Adam Gase. Right, just think back to previous Jets coaches here. He's the overseer, and that was one of the biggest positives of the Jet, in my opinion, the Jets bringing Saleh in the first place. It's like, okay, we have somebody to control the defense, we have somebody to control the offense, and then we have a head coach that's now in a position of like a John Harbaugh. Right, somebody who can really excel clock management, somebody who can really excel with challenging plays, somebody who can really excel in whipping out different packages, different plays at specific times because he has a good read of the game. He has his finger on the pulse of what is happening because he doesn't have his head buried. He doesn't have to step away from the game when the defense comes off the field to go over film and whatnot. He's already has that covered. His staff covers that. So, yes, of course you can spin this in a negative light. We're going to get into that, but that's the positive here. That Saleh, being the head coach of the football team, being the overseer of the offense, has to have an idea after watching this offense go 3 and out and 3 and out and 3 and out and struggle to block, and you can't protect the quarterback, and you're turning the football over, and you're constantly punting, and it's just a complete an utter mess. They don't throw the football down the field. He has to have some sort of ideas after watching this unit struggle weekly, almost quarterly as well. He has to provide some sort of insight. Now, the negative here is, why didn't that take place a year ago? It was just a week by week thing, and it's like the offense just stays the same. They never get any better. Doesn't matter who's out there, who's on the O-line, who's playing quarterback. It's just going to be terrible. Where was Saleh's input then? But maybe Saleh has hit the offseason and just watched all the film, because at the end of the day, his job rides on this season. Everybody's job rides on this season, and the offense needs to get better. And if Aaron Rodgers were to get hurt again, that's not an excuse. It's just not an excuse. So with Saleh being the overseer of the offense, you would like to think that because he's watching this offense, again, struggle pretty much, I want to say the majority of the time, he's going to have some ideas to fix it, or he's going to step in and make adjustments because he's the leader of this football team. The second positive is that because we're coming out of this break, we don't really know what went on behind the scenes. Like, you read these stories, and I absolutely love these stories about, Antonio Pierce, for example, when he got the interim job, when they fired McDaniels, and everybody knows how much of a circus that was. When Pierce stepped in, he said, okay, I'm going to do it my way, but I've never been an NFL head coach before. Yeah, I've played. Yeah, I have coaching experience, but I don't know how to be an NFL head coach at this point in time. I need more information. I need more data. I want to talk to people who have been there and done that. So I'm going to meet with Adam Gase. I'm going to get Adam Gase to come to the Raiders facility and talk to him and pick his brain. I'm going to talk to Marvin Lewis. I'm going to talk to Herman Edwards. I'm going to talk to Joe Philbin, right? And yes, I understand that he's not talking to Belichick and whatnot. Like, he's not, these conversations and meetings and whatnot weren't with these Hall of Fame level coaches. But they're guys that have had NFL experience. And even if he walks away with just one thing that's beneficial, he's walking away as a better football coach. Who knows what conversations could be had? They could be talking about Gase's downfall with the Dolphins, Gase's downfall with the Jets. Why didn't it work? Okay, I'm going to take those things away from this meeting and apply that to my coaching trade, my coaching skill. I love that proactive approach. Dennis Allen with the New Orleans Saints, right? He's a defensive-minded guy. His defensive scheme is freaking awesome. I love Dennis. Press man corners, just attacking the quarterback, constant blitzing. Love Dennis Allen on the defense side of the football, but like Saleh, you don't really have that resume working on offense. There was questions with the offensive side of the football. There was questions with their offensive line a year ago. There were questions with the red zone offense. And so they make a switch. They part ways with Carmichael at OC. They bring in Clint Kubiak. Clint Kubiak's going to be coming in running, a traditional West Coast, the wide zones type of system. But Dennis Allen brings in Derek Carr's former coach, John Gruden, somebody who, again, knows Carr very, very well, but also knows this West Coast system, and is working one-on-one with Saints players. He's in the meeting rooms trying to figure out, trying to get the Saints offense on track for 2024. That's totally cool, right? So did something like that take place with Robert Saleh, where maybe he met with some offensive coaches, maybe he met with some defensive coaches in the past that have struggled historically on offense? Well, what did you do to get better on that side of the football? Did anything like that take place? And if not, okay, maybe a bit disappointing, but it is what it is. Saleh can still dive into the film himself. Months have went by since the last game of the season. And that last game of the season, we gave the football to Breece Hall, like however many times, like it was just some absurd amount. So it wasn't really like the coaches won the game. The offensive coaches finally rose to the occasion. It was just give the ball to Breece in really cold weather against New England. Let's send Belichick out with the loss. So maybe Saleh dove into the film and try to figure some stuff out offensively. And I would love to hear any input, because the offense can't get much worse, right? So I know if I was a head coach and my job is on the line, and the offense, say struggles this season, or in the first half of the year, it's bottom 5 or whatever it is, that they're struggling in one specific area, we're going to be trying new things. We're going to shake it up. We're not just going to sink down with the ship as we did a year ago and just said, well, this is what we do, and that's it. That's really what took place a year ago, and it sucked watching. Defensively, again, elite. Offensively, though, it was anemic. Of course, with Aaron Rodgers back there, with some improvements on the O-line, with Mike Williams hopefully healthy, the offense should perk up. And I personally think that the Jets are going to be running the football a lot. John Simpson drafting the 2 bruising backs, Isaiah Davis, South Dakota State, Braylon Allen, Wisconsin, bringing back Morgan Moses, getting AVT healthy. I think there's going to be a really big emphasis on attacking the ground game for this Jets offense. And another thing, too, that I feel like is relevant to bring up here, another positive with Saleh getting more involved with the offense, his connections are like off the hook. Like, he was the defensive coordinator for one of the best offensive minds in the game, Kyle Shanahan. He was on. He's probably not getting together with Mike McDaniel, given the AFC East rivalry, but I'm sure Saleh can pick Shanahan's brain a little bit this past offseason. I'm sure he can go back and watch the film of that Shanahan offense. I understand that it's not the same exact offense, but, would Saleh, if a report comes out tonight that Saleh reached out to Kyle Shanahan for some offensive advice because he wants to get more well-versed on that side of the football, is anybody going to look at that as a negative or have a complaint about that? I'm certainly not. How about Matt LaFleur? Matt LaFleur, the guy who coached Aaron Rodgers for all these years, somebody else who Robert Saleh knows really, really well, and I would assume still has a good relationship with. I know Mike LaFleur and Saleh, they ended up parting ways. I think those two guys would still be on good terms, but I can't confirm that. But Matt LaFleur is another great offensive mind. I mean, Matt LaFleur is one of the best coaches in football. Like, you look at the win-loss record for Matt LaFleur, it's freaking awesome. You look at the offensive numbers, they're great. Jordan Love developing a quarterback. Like, there's so many. Also, too, Green Bay was the youngest team in football a year ago, and they're making it work. They make the playoffs, they get a playoff win. A lot of people were doubting Jordan Love. I mean, again, same situation. Report comes out, Saleh met with Matt LaFleur for a week, diagnosing offenses, trying to get back on track. I would be freaking thrilled if something like that came out. So, again, these are hypotheticals here, but they're realistic hypotheticals. Maybe Saleh did do something like this, and I do think in the end, it will be a positive that Saleh gets more involved. But of course, the negatives here. Number one, where was this the last 3 years? It kind of goes back to the sense of urgency or the lack thereof that a lot of Jets fans felt throughout the course of last season. It was just, all right, we're going to be here. It almost kind of, we joked around in the season, like, it felt like Saleh and Joe Douglas had signed 5-year extensions, but the news never broke. So, there's not that pressure to win. There's not that urgency. Hey, where's that intensity? Where's that fire? It just wasn't really there at all. Why does it take 3 years of bad football? 3 years of bad football to, finally get more involved with the offense? One could argue he doesn't bring anything to the table. That's why. Which, I guess is a fair point. But we're going to have to see how this thing plays out, right? If the offensive side of the football looks better, again, I assume, pretty much everybody assumes that it will look better with all these new acquisitions. How much of the success will land on Saleh's plate? Will be responsible for Robert Saleh's offensive workings here. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. I do think this is going to be pretty, in my opinion, a big deal once we get in the thick of the regular season, right? Saleh attending offensive meetings, sitting in on the quarterback room, sitting in on the offensive line, with the O-line. I think all that stuff is really, really important. Again, if I was a head coach, I'm not leaving for... there's an area of the game that I feel like is gray, or I just don't really I'm not that well versed in, I'm not leaving the facility. I'm not doing it until I feel like I've made steps in that direction, steps in the right direction in that specific category. I'm trying to be a sponge. I'm trying to learn as much information as possible, and moving forward to be the best football coach that I can be. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts, and as always, go Jets.